Urgent, Nico Williams of Barcelona has made a decision. Stay until the end to know everything. But before starting the video, like and subscribe to the channel to not miss any important news from Barcelona. Full attention in the environment of FC Barcelona, one of the most desired names in the European market, has made a decision that can directly impact the future of the squad. Nico Williams, star of Athletic Club and one of the great promises of Spanish football, has chosen what his destination will be for next season. The doubt that kept the supporters in suspense finally has an answer: Bayern Munich or Barcelona. After several weeks of speculation, offers, conversations, and rumors, Nico Williams' choice seems very clear. The young winger has shown his preference for the Blaugrana jersey and to share the locker room with his great friend Lamine Yamal. This decision was not simple, as Bayern's interest was strong and concrete, but the personal and sporting connection with Yamal weighed more heavily. Lamine Yamal played an absolutely key role in this process. Sources close to the situation assure that the young Barcelona talent did not stop insisting to Nico, both in private and in public, about the importance of joining the Kuhl project. His desire is to build a bright future together on the flank of the camp and to form a duo that could mark an era. However, the story does not end there. Despite Nico Williams' agreement, the big obstacle remains economic. FC Barcelona must resolve its financial situation before finalizing any incorporation of this level. Remember that Nico's release clause is set at €58 million, a figure that, although reasonable for many European clubs, represents a challenge for Barcelona's finances due to its known economic limitations. In this context, Deco, Barcelona's sporting director, has worked intensely to find solutions. Last week, he had a key meeting with Nico's representative in Spain. Although the conversation was productive, there were no definitive advances, mainly because everything depends on the club's ability to free up salary space and generate income. The possible departures of players from the first team are fundamental for this operation to materialize. One of the names circulating the most is that of Ronald Araujo. The Uruguayan defender has several offers from important clubs in Europe, and his sale could significantly alleviate the club's financial situation. However, Hansi Flick, the new Barcelona coach, considers Araujo an essential piece of his defensive scheme and is not in favor of letting him go. Time is pressing, but there is no extreme urgency. Nico has given his agreement, which allows Barcelona to work with more tranquility, although knowing that any delay could open the door to Bayern, who remain very attentive and ready to intervene if the Catalans do not manage to finalize the operation in time. Meanwhile, Hansi Flick continues to outline what would be his ideal team for the upcoming season. On his board, the figure of Nico Williams fits perfectly. The German technician's idea is to have Nico occupying the left wing, Lamine Yamal on the right flank, Rafinha playing a more central role, and Robert Lewandowski as the offensive reference. However, Barcelona is also considering a plan B in case the Nico affair does not materialize. Luis Diaz, a player from Liverpool, is Deco's favorite to occupy this position. However, the cost of the Colombian, which amounts to €85 million, makes the operation extremely complicated. For now, everything indicates that Barcelona will do everything possible to meet the economic requirements and finalize the transfer of Nico Williams. What is clear is that the player's willingness is already on the table, and this represents the first big step towards a favorable outcome for the Catalan club. Behind every big decision in modern football, there are factors that often go beyond money, contracts, or the history of the clubs. In the case of Nico Williams, his choice to prioritize Barcelona over Bayern Munich has a name: Lamine Yamal. The relationship between the two players transcends the professional. Since they met during the gatherings of the Spanish national team, they have forged a solid friendship based on mutual respect and admiration for each other's talent. Lamine, despite his youth, has taken on a role almost as an ambassador for Barcelona and has spared no effort in convincing Nico that his future must be at the camp. According to several sources close to the locker room environment, the conversations between the two have been constant. Lamine spoke to him not only about what it means to play for one of the greatest clubs in the world, but also about the project that Barcelona is building, a project focused on young talents where both would be fundamental pieces not only for the present but also for the future of the institution. Promises of playing time, protagonism, and sporting growth weighed as much as the figures of the contract. Nico sees in Barcelona a platform to consolidate himself as one of the most unbalancing wingers in Europe, while sharing the protagonism with his friend, creating a duo that could be formidable both in La Liga and in the Champions League. But in addition to the human factor, the style of play was also decisive. Hansi Flick, with his offensive philosophy and his bet on vertical football, has seduced not only the management but also the players themselves. Yamal has transmitted to Nico what it would be like to be part of a system where the wingers are absolute protagonists, with the freedom to overflow, confront, and constantly create. However, on the other side, Bayern Munich did not give up easily. From Germany, they presented Nico with a very attractive sporting and economic offer, in addition to guaranteeing him an important role in the team. The Bavarian club highly valued his ability to break lines and his exponential growth over the last seasons with Athletic Club. However, the personal bond with Yamal and the excitement of being part of a generation that could mark a before and after in the recent history of Barcelona weighed more than any foreign offer. The influence of the young Blaugrana attacker was so powerful that, according to local media, during meetings between Deco and Nico's entourage, one of the recurring arguments was precisely the good relationship he would have with Lamine, both on and off the field. However, although the emotional aspect is resolved, the biggest challenge remains for Barcelona to manage to formalize the operation. Nico's willingness is there, as is his excitement, but the club's financial situation remains an obstacle that needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. The offices at the camp are working against the clock, studying various formulas, from strategic sales to the activation of new commercial revenues, all with the aim of unblocking the transfer of a player who, by his own will and under the direct influence of one of the club's most promising talents, has chosen to wear the Blaugrana jersey. The message is clear. Nico wants to be at Barcelona. Now it's up to the management to do their part. Although Nico Williams has already clearly expressed his desire to wear the FC Barcelona jersey, the club's financial reality is the main obstacle preventing the immediate finalization of the operation. It is no secret that the Catalan institution has been dragging economic problems for several years, which conditions every move in the transfer market. The transfer price is not exorbitant by European football standards. €58 million, the amount set in the player's release clause with Athletic Club. However, for a Barcelona that is still navigating between adjusted salary limits and restrictions imposed by La Liga, any expenditure of this magnitude requires meticulous financial engineering. The recent meeting between Deco and Nico Williams' representatives was essentially positive, but without tangible progress. The predisposition of both parties is clear, but the club must find mechanisms that allow it to assume this cost without further compromising its economic situation. Among the solutions considered are the sales of current players. Ronald Araujo, one of the most valued defenders in the squad, is one of the names circulating most in departure rumors. Several top-level clubs have shown interest in him, aware of his quality and defensive leadership. However, Hansi Flick, who relies on Araujo as a fundamental pillar of his defense, does not envision his departure unless the economic situation forces him to. In addition to Araujo's case, other players such as Ferran Torres, Ansu Fati, currently on loan, and even Rafinha could be sale or loan options to free up salary mass and open space for new incorporations. However, it is not simple. Some of these players do not want to leave, and others do not have offers that meet the club's economic expectations. On the other hand, Joan Laporta and his board of directors are working to find new sources of income. They are in talks with sponsors, investment funds, and are exploring the partial sale of non-essential assets, all with the aim of improving liquidity and complying with La Liga's financial fair play requirements. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich is watching from a distance. Although Nico has expressed his preference for Barcelona, the Bavarian club does not rule out coming back if they perceive that the Catalans are not able to conclude the deal in time. From Germany, they are aware that, although the player's desire is to play in Spain, the reality of modern football can change quickly if economic circumstances are not favorable. Hansi Flick, knowing the club's internal situation, is pressing the management to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. He considers Nico Williams key to his project, both for his footballing qualities and for the chemistry he can develop with Lamine Yamal and other young talents on the team. Time is pressing, but in the Barcelona environment, there is a certain optimism. The belief is that if 2 or 3 strategic moves materialize, both in terms of departures and revenue generation, Nico's transfer will become a reality. Meanwhile, the supporters are eagerly awaiting concrete news, aware that the arrival of the winger could be the first big step towards a rejuvenated, competitive Barcelona, ready to regain its place among the elite of European football. Beyond economic issues, FC Barcelona's interest in Nico Williams is deeply linked to an ambitious sporting project led by Hansi Flick. Since his arrival on the Blaugrana bench, the German coach has made it clear that his vision is to build a dynamic, offensive team based on youth, where players like Nico and Lamine Yamal are protagonists. Flick does not see Nico as a simple reinforcement, but as a key piece of his tactical scheme. His idea is clear: an attacking line where Nico occupies the left wing, Lamine Yamal dominates the right side, Rafinha or a dynamic playmaker acts in the center, and Robert Lewandowski remains as a fixed reference in the box. Nico's speed, dribbling, and ability to break lines fit perfectly into this system. His ability to face defenders one-on-one and his vision to assist make him the ideal complement for an attack that seeks to be lethal from the wings. Additionally, his ability to sacrifice in defensive tasks aligns with the philosophy of high pressing and quick recovery that Flick wants to instill in the team. The German coach, who has already demonstrated during his time at Bayern Munich his ability to get the best out of young players, is convinced that he can develop Nico Williams into one of the most decisive wingers on the continent. This argument has been key to seducing both the player and his entourage. However, Flick does not want to put all his eggs in one basket. In case the negotiations for Nico do not prosper, the club is already working on alternatives. One of them is Luis Diaz from Liverpool, a Colombian winger with similar characteristics: speed, dribbling, and the ability to make a difference in individual duels. However, his transfer is much more complicated due to his high market value, which exceeds €85 million, a figure that is currently out of Barcelona's reach. Another option that has been mentioned in the offices is that of Dani Olmo from RB Leipzig. His versatility to play both on the wings and as a playmaker is highly valued by Flick and Deco. However, his contractual situation does not facilitate an easy move either. Despite having a plan B and C, both the sporting management and Hansi Flick himself are clear that the priority is Nico Williams, not only for tactical reasons but also for the context of a locker room. The personal connection with Lamine Yamal is a factor that can translate into chemistry on the field, something that cannot always be bought with money. Flick envisions a rejuvenated Barcelona where emerging figures are the engine of the new project. The blend of young talents with the experience of players like Lewandowski, Ter Stegen, or Frank Kessie is the formula with which the German coach intends to bring the club back to the top of European football. This ambitious plan seeks not only immediate results but also to lay the foundations for a competitive Barcelona over the next decade. Nico Williams is not just a transfer. He is a cornerstone in the roadmap that the club is charting. Now, everything rests in the hands of the financial management. If they manage to balance the books, the sporting project will have the much-desired reinforcement. And if that happens, Hansi Flick can begin to shape the future of Barcelona with an attack that promises to be one of the most formidable on the continent. As FC Barcelona continues to try to resolve its financial issues to finalize the arrival of Nico Williams, Bayern Munich has not given up from Germany. The Bavarian club remains very attentive to the situation and is ready to intervene if it detects any sign of weakness or delay from Barcelona. Bayern considers Nico Williams a strategic target to strengthen their squad, especially after the arrival of their new coach, who seeks to rejuvenate the team and bring more dynamism to the wings. The German club's sporting management appreciates not only the winger's footballing qualities but also his long-term potential. In this regard, Bayern has already made preliminary contacts with Nico's entourage, making it clear that they are ready to pay the release clause without the need for lengthy negotiations. Unlike Barcelona, the German club enjoys economic stability and can undertake such operations immediately, which poses a real threat to Barcelona's interests. However, the emotional factor plays in Barcelona's favor. Nico has a very close relationship with Lamine Yamal, and his personal desire is to share the locker room with him in the Catalan city. Additionally, the appeal of playing in La Liga and being part of a young project led by Hansi Flick tips the balance in favor of the Catalans. Despite this, modern football has shown that emotions, while important, are not always decisive. If Barcelona cannot meet the deadlines or financial commitments required for the operation, Bayern will not hesitate to move forward. From the German club's sporting management, they are aware that such transfers not only strengthen the squad but also weaken direct competitors in the European context. Signing Nico would mean preventing him from reinforcing a historic rival like Barcelona, in addition to securing a young talent on the rise. On the other hand, Bayern has other strong arguments: sporting stability, constant presence in the final stages of the Champions League, and a club structure where players can develop in an environment without the extreme media pressures that usually accompany teams like Barcelona or Real Madrid. Meanwhile, Nico's entourage remains expectant. Although their priority is still Barcelona, they are not willing to wait indefinitely. His desire is to resolve his future before the start of the pre-season, thus avoiding situations of uncertainty that could affect his physical preparation and professional approach. From the Bayern locker room, players have already contacted Nico to convey what it means to play in Munich. They have talked to him about the club's culture, the competitiveness of the Bundesliga, and the professional environment experienced daily. The tug-of-war between Barcelona and Bayern remains open. For now, the players' desire is clear, but if days go by and Barcelona does not finalize the deal, the door to Germany remains ajar, ready to close in the form of contracts if circumstances allow. In the offices of the camp, fully aware of this, the pressure is on the table, and every decision made in the coming weeks will be decisive not only for the future of Nico Williams but also for Barcelona's sporting project as a whole. One of the least visible but crucial elements in this entire operation is the figure of Deco, a former player and now an agent close to Nico Williams. His role goes far beyond simple mediation. He has become a strategic pillar in managing both the negotiations with FC Barcelona and the career and entourage of the young footballer. Deco, with his experience and knowledge of the European market, knows that every move must be calculated to maximize not only economic benefit but also sporting development and emotional stability for Nico. In his meetings with the Barcelona management, he has shown a firm stance, defending the players' interests but also understanding the club's financial reality. Since the last meeting in Spain, where he participated with Nico's representative, Deco has made it clear that the players' priority is Barcelona. However, he has also hinted that the players' patience has limits and that if conditions are not met quickly, they will evaluate other options. The former midfielder knows that for a rising talent like Nico, stability is fundamental, not only in contractual terms but also in the sporting project and the quality of the environment. That is why his role is not limited to negotiating clauses or salaries, but also ensuring that Nico feels supported in all aspects. Additionally, Deco has had direct conversations with Lamine Yamal, strengthening the bond between the two and emphasizing the importance of Nico joining a team where he can grow alongside his friend. This strategy is not fortuitous. It aims to make the choice not only rational but also emotional, which could be decisive for the final decision. In parallel, Deco is also closely monitoring the possible pressure from Bayern. He knows that the competition is real and that any delay in negotiations could open the door to a more economically attractive German offer. Therefore, he maintains fluid contact with all parties, seeking to accelerate the process without losing sight of Nico's interests. Another relevant point in Deco's management is the player's mental and physical preparation. He knows that the transfer process, with its ups and downs, can be exhausting. That's why he works to ensure Nico maintains his focus on his sporting performance, preventing contractual uncertainties from affecting his performance on the field. In summary, Deco is much more than an agent. He is a mentor, a strategist, and a fundamental support at a crucial stage for Nico Williams. His involvement could be the factor that tips the balance in favor of Barcelona, provided that the club responds with speed and firmness. The future of Nico Williams depends not only on his talent or the interest of the clubs, but also on the ability of those managing his career. So far, Deco has proven to be up to this challenge. The news of the possible arrival of Nico Williams at FC Barcelona has generated an immediate impact both among the supporters and in the team's locker room. The expectation is palpable, and many see in the young winger a key piece to revitalize the Blaugrana attack, especially at a time when the club is betting on renewal and the prominence of its emerging young talents. Barcelona supporters have welcomed the news with enthusiasm, expressing on social media and forums their hope that Nico can bring freshness and dynamism to a team that has experienced ups and downs in recent seasons. His speed, dribbling skills, and ability to create offensive opportunities fit perfectly with the style that many wish to see at the camp. However, there are also critical voices that remind us that the arrival of a young player does not automatically guarantee success. They emphasize that the team needs to strengthen in several positions and that managing pressure and expectations will be fundamental for Nico to give his best. In the locker room, the possible incorporation of Nico has been well received. His friendship with Lamine Yamal, already present in the team, facilitates integration and creates a positive environment. The more experienced players view the arrival of young talents who can complement the experience of figures like Lewandowski or Ter Stegen favorably. Additionally, Hansi Flick's technical management uses Nico's incorporation as a clear message to the group. The club is betting on youth, energy, and commitment. This message seeks to create a competitive and motivating environment that pushes everyone to improve and give their best. However, the pressure also increases. Nico will not only have to adapt to a new team and a different league, but also face the expectations of a fan base accustomed to great successes and the constant demand to win titles. The coaching staff, aware of these challenges, is preparing an adaptation plan so that Nico can integrate progressively and securely. This includes psychological support, specific work on technical and tactical aspects, and close monitoring to facilitate his adaptation, both on and off the field. Ultimately, the arrival of Nico Williams represents more than just a transfer. It is a symbol of renewal, a bet on the future, and the ambition of FC Barcelona to regain its place among the best clubs in Europe. The challenge is to turn this excitement into concrete results, and for this, the collaboration of all sectors of the club will be fundamental. With the possibility of Nico Williams becoming a FC Barcelona player, the horizon ahead of him is filled with challenges and opportunities that will mark the course of his career and that of the Catalan institution itself. The young winger knows that he is at a decisive moment. Moving from another European context to a giant like Barça involves a transformation both in sports and personally. Adapting to a league as competitive as La Liga, media pressure, and high expectations are factors that Nico will have to manage with maturity and commitment. The technical staff of Hansi Flick has clear plans for Nico, hoping that the player will not only bring his talent to the field but will also become an example for other young players in the locker room. His connection with Lamine Yamal is seen as a solid foundation for building an offensive duo that will bring energy and creativity to a renewed attack. In terms of competition, Nico's arrival will bring more depth to the squad and allow Flick to have more options to vary schemes and strategies throughout the season. This is crucial in such a demanding calendar, where rotation and versatility are key to maintaining a high level of performance. The expectations of the supporters are also high. Fans hope that Nico will demonstrate from the beginning his ability to unbalance matches and bring goals or decisive passes. Beyond statistics, what is demanded is character, commitment, and leadership in the most difficult moments, qualities that are already beginning to be seen in him. Regarding the club, economic and sporting management will be decisive in making the most of Nico's incorporation. Maintaining financial balance without sacrificing quality will be one of the main challenges for the management at this stage. The future is promising, but nothing is certain. Everything will depend on Nico's ability to adapt, grow, and meet the expectations generated by his arrival, as well as the club's commitment to supporting a solid project that allows him to develop fully. Thus, the story of Nico Williams is at a turning point. His decision to bet on Barcelona represents a bet on excellence, overcoming, and the desire to leave an indelible mark on one of the greatest clubs in the world. Time will tell if this union will be the beginning of a new golden era or just another chapter in the history of football. What is certain is that the talent and determination of Nico Williams have already set in motion a process that no one wants to miss. The arrival of Nico Williams at FC Barcelona is not just a matter of signing a contract or paying a clause. Behind this operation, there is an elaborate strategic plan to ensure that the footballer can exploit his full potential while strengthening the team as a whole. The club has designed a personalized integration program for Nico, covering sports, social, and cultural aspects, recognizing that adapting to a new environment can be a challenge. Barça seeks to facilitate his transition so that the player feels comfortable both on and off the field. On a sporting level, physical and technical trainers are working to adapt Nico to the specific demands of the league and Hansi Flick's playing system. They are focusing on improving physical aspects such as endurance and recovery, as well as the team's tactical understanding so that Nico can make quick and accurate decisions during matches. At the same time, the club's psychology department offers support to manage the pressure that comes with playing for a team with such a rich history and high expectations. Tools are provided to maintain focus, confidence, and motivation, essential aspects for a young player facing a highly competitive environment. On a social level, the club facilitates integration through group activities, meetings with other players, and creating a family-like environment within the locker room. The presence of Lamine Yamal is crucial in this regard, as he represents close support that helps Nico feel backed. Additionally, sessions have been organized with former players and technical staff members who have gone through similar processes to share experiences and practical advice. The goal is for Nico to grow not only as a footballer but also as a person, understanding the responsibility and legacy that comes with wearing the Blaugrana jersey. From a sports management perspective, the idea is to avoid excessive pressures that could affect Nico's initial performances. Therefore, the plan is for Nico to have progressive playing time, combining matches as a starter with appearances from the bench so he can gain confidence and adapt without stress. Finally, the club is attentive to communication with the media and supporters, promoting a positive and realistic message about Nico's incorporation. His potential is highlighted, and patience is encouraged, reminding everyone that great players need time to consolidate. Ultimately, Barcelona understands that recruiting Nico Williams is just the first step. The true success will lie in the ability to develop his talent and create the right conditions for him to become a reference within the team and global football. With the integration of Nico Williams at FC Barcelona, the club is not just adding a talented player but also embracing a symbol of renewal and hope for a new generation. Nico represents the bet on youth and the future vision that Barcelona wants to consolidate. His arrival is a clear message. The club wants to become a protagonist in Europe again, not only through established stars but also with young talents who can grow and make their mark. The legacy that Nico can build goes far beyond his goals or assists. It is about his ability to inspire other young players, to convey values such as dedication, resilience, and love for the game. His story is an example for those who dream of reaching the elite and a reminder that talent, accompanied by hard work and support, can open great doors. Moreover, Nico will have the opportunity to be part of a squad that combines experience and youth, where he can learn from great figures and, at the same time, bring freshness and energy. This will benefit not only his personal growth, but also the team's collective ambition. For the supporters, Nico is a new hope. His dynamic style and commitment to the club connect with the Blaugrana identity and fuel the dream of seeing a competitive and exciting Barcelona. Finally, Nico's success will depend as much on his individual efforts as on the environment surrounding him. The responsibility is shared. The player must give his best, and the club must create the conditions for that to be possible. This chapter closes a period of uncertainty and opens a new one, full of possibilities and expectations. Nico Williams is no longer just a promise. He is part of the present and future of FC Barcelona. Time and joint effort will be responsible for writing the brightest pages of this story, a story that many are already eager to see unfold on the pitch at the camp.